Welcome to another AI video tutorial. Many of you asked me on Discord to show how I make the music videos for my other YouTube channel called AltFlux. In this video, I want to show you my process, how I think about it, what tools I use and why, how to get better cinematic images and videos, how to change the mood with color grading, how to generate better songs, and so on. So stick around until the end. I combine multiple AI tools to get what I need, so here's my process. First, I generate a text, then I generate the music, then I generate the images. So all of that comes from text. Then the images are edited, and I can create videos from them. At the end, I edit the video and combine everything with the music to get the final result. Let's start step by step. I use a large language model where I input my text and get another text. That's why it's called text-to-text, because you input text and the output is text. You can use ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, or any kind of model to generate lyrics, ideas, prompts, or scripts. I use ChatGPT for this because I got used to it and it works fine for what I need. So how do you create songs? You could ask it to give you the lyrics for a Suno AI song, and then you describe the song. Sometimes it's formatted correctly, and sometimes it isn't, so it depends on luck. You can try starting a new chat until one works. Make sure it has those instructions in square brackets, because if they are not in brackets, it will read them like lyrics instead. Let me create a new chat to show you how I do it. I've created a formula that I can just paste into ChatGPT or use in a custom GPT. You can get it for free from Discord. Check the video description. Then you give details about what the song is about and what music style it should be. It will give you a title, the prompt that is called Style Description on Suno AI, and then the lyrics. What you need to check is that all the instructions are in square brackets because sometimes it hallucinates and puts them in round brackets. And like I said before, it will read them as lyrics instead. If the round brackets are used in the lyrics, that's okay. It will sing them like backing vocals and it gives a nice effect. But in another chat, it missed that. You can see here, fade to silence should have been an instruction in square brackets, not round ones. You can tell ChatGPT to fix that or just replace it manually. Now you might be tempted to just copy the song from here, but if I open Notepad and paste it, you'll see it also copies the formatting, like asterisks that make some words bold and so on. You could instruct it to remove the bold formatting or something, but instead of using the copy button, I just select the entire text, right-click, copy, and then paste it into Notepad so I can edit it more easily. And of course, I can save that song locally. I like to write my own lyrics and just adjust them slightly with ChatGPT, but it's really good for rhymes and inspiration. For example, let's say you don't like part of a verse. I can copy that and ask ChatGPT to give me another verse for it. And let's say you like a certain line from the lyrics. You can copy that and ask ChatGPT to give you more lines that rhyme with it. Now you have more variations to choose from or get inspired by. So I can replace that in my text file and save it. Now, where are the instructions you can add more information? It doesn't follow them perfectly all the time, but it does follow them sometimes. For example, where the verse is, I can write something like female voice or deep male bass voice or angelic woman voice or anything you have in mind. Let's say I like the song. How do I convert it to music? You can use Suno or Udio, but my favorite is Suno AI, so I'll use that. On the Suno website, I just click Create. You can create songs using the simple tab and just ask for what you need, but I like to have more control. That's why I use ChatGPT. I use the Custom tab. Scroll down to where it says Song Title and add a title for the song. From the text file or from ChatGPT, I copy that title and paste it here. Then for Style Description, copy the text that comes under the prompt, since that is the full prompt, and paste it here. It used to accept fewer characters, but now it can handle pretty long prompts. For the lyrics part, copy everything under the lyrics section. For example, mine starts from intro and goes all the way down to fade out. I paste that here, and now I have everything I need. It's time to generate a bunch of versions and listen until you find one you like. Click on the Create button when you're ready. In a few seconds, you should see a magenta dot for the new songs you haven't listened to yet, like you see here. You always get 2 generations when you click Generate. When you see a timestamp like this, that means the entire song is ready for download, but you can still play it even if it's not fully generated yet. Let's listen and see what we got.
Woke up with the sun, but no reason. Clock ticks louder than my thoughts. Another email, another will let you know. A stack of dreams in a row of no-shows. Rip heels on pavement, suit too tight. Mirror says smile, I fake it right. Coffee, cold hopes getting thinner. Lunches there, no time for dinner. Paper trails that lead nowhere. Closed doors paper trails that lead nowhere, closed doors and empty stairs, filling forms with trembling hands.
So, it did a great job. If something doesn't sound right, you can change the lyrics or the prompt used. Once you find something you like, click on the three dots menu and select Download. You can use the WAV audio format for higher quality audio. Now you're ready to make the music video. I usually get inspiration just by listening. I can see some scenes in my head when I hear the music. But of course, you can also get ideas from ChatGPT. Just tell it that you want to make a music video for this song and ask for ideas. Then paste the song details. It already starts giving me all kinds of ideas. Some good, some not so good, but it's really helpful for inspiration. I can then ask for more details about one version I liked, and it gives me even more info on how to create the music video, what scenes to include, and so on. Talk with it and explain what you want changed or done differently. Now we need the images before we make the video, so we can use different AI tools to create an image from our text, which is called a prompt. You have lots of options now, from local tools like ComfyUI to online ones like ChatGPT, Midjourney, OpenArt, and many more. I prefer to do it locally because I have an RTX 4090, it's free, and I can create high-quality images. Let me show you how I do it. This is the ComfyUI interface. It runs workflows made of nodes connected together like a puzzle, giving you the freedom to do all kinds of things. You can use different AI models with it and generate all sorts of content, but for images, I prefer this over anything else out there, even the paid ones. For video generation, it's not yet as good as the paid tools. I have my workflows organized by different ratios, depending on what I need. For example, this workflow uses a flux model and can generate 16:9 ratio images, which are then upscaled to 2K size. For example, here is a prompt I used for a photo of a black cat on the street. I run this workflow, I get a simple photo of the cat, something like this, nothing special. But how can we make it more cinematic? For that, we need to improve our prompt engineering. If I add words like cinematic, play with the lighting and color, and include the camera that was used to take the image, and if I use the same seed, you can see how it changes from this to this, much more interesting and cinematic. So how can you make better prompts? I tested different keywords that worked for me, from cinematic terms to different lighting setups and color tones. I created a formula that you can also use with ChatGPT. I just copy the formula, paste it into ChatGPT, and run it. Now I can ask for whatever I need. If I want a pharaoh cat, for example, I get a prompt like this one. I can copy it using this button and test it in ComfyUI, and the result is this image. Let's try something else, maybe a lizard with steampunk glasses. Here's the prompt. And this is the result. Sometimes you might get black bars or letterbox effects on your images. It happens with all AI tools, so just try a different seed, and I got something that looks good and cinematic. But even with prompts and formulas, it's hard to explain things just right. If you drag an image inside ChatGPT like I did here, you can ask for a prompt for a different subject in the same art style and mood. I got something like this. Since Flux can handle long prompts, I asked it to give me a more detailed and longer one. Now I like it. It has a lot of details. Let's test it. The first seed looks like this. It captured the mood of the image. And here is the second seed. It's okay, but I want more realism. So when I need to generate people and more realism, I like to use the Fluxmania model instead of the Flux model. It's a similar workflow, just with a different model. Let's also try a more close-up image to see all the details. Since AI is better with that, I got a nice prompt, and the result is this one. It really does look like a still from a movie, doesn't it? I really like it. Now it's time to get that 2K image I like, because the more detailed and better the image, the better the video will turn out. So I enable the upscaler using this button. Then I run it, and in about a minute, I get double the size. A 2K image with nice details that will work great for generating a video. If you want to learn more about ComfyUI and get the workflows, check my other channel, Pixaroma. It's all free. Look for the playlist called ComfyUI Tutorial Series. In the last year, I did over 53 episodes, one new episode each week. For this video, I used a workflow from episode 50. You can also try the one from episode 52 and the Nunchaku version for better speed. Here are a few more images I generated with ComfyUI, just to give you an idea of what it can do and why I prefer it over other AI tools when it comes to image generation and upscaling. The video quality generated from these images is very nice on Kling AI. For image editing, I like to use Photoshop, but there are other cheaper alternatives or free options you can use. You can edit or correct your images. For example, my favorite tool is the Remove tool. If I zoom in, You can see it has some small mistakes that it couldn't generate properly, like buttons or text. With this tool, I can select what I don't want and remove it. It's very useful. You can also remove bigger things. For example, this flower. I can make a bigger brush and just paint over it. The selection should be a little larger than the subject. And look what happens when I release the mouse. It's gone. You can even enable generative AI from here to get even better results. I also use it for color grading. For example, this cat doesn't look too cinematic, so I like to modify the images before I make the video. You can also do that after, but I prefer to do it before, and then in the video it's easier to make subtle changes. If I go to Filter and Camera Raw Filter, I have all kinds of options for lights and colors. I can change the exposure or contrast. Sometimes lowering the contrast gives a more cinematic look. But what I like to do is go to the Curve tab, and I add a point here and one point here. Then I lift this dot up, and look how it already starts to look more cinematic. You can also play with color grading. For example, in the Shadows section, move this dot closer to the center to pick different colors for the shadows. And see what looks good. You can also try with midtones and highlights. For example, I can introduce a warm color here to make it more retro. And look how cinematic it looks. Let's undo that. And I'll show you how to save those edits so you don't have to repeat them for each image. I like to use actions. If you don't see the actions panel, press the F9 button. I record actions for all kinds of things that I do repeatedly. Let's create a new folder to stay organized. I'll name it Color Editing. Now click on the plus icon to create a new action and start recording. Let's name it Color Grading 1 and press the record button. Now we have this red button showing that it's recording and a stop button next to it. You just do your color editing like normal. Let's say instead of using Camera Raw Filter, I use some adjustment layers. Let's add the Curves adjustment layer. I add the same two dots, one here and one here. Now I lift the blacks up, and maybe something like this works. You can also move the second dot up or down to adjust the light. Then you can add more adjustments. For example, the photo filter. Try a few of them to see what they do. Some are warm, some are cool. You can change to any color you want to match the mood you're going for. Once everything looks good, stop the recording by pressing the stop button. Everything you did gets saved here. Some things might not get recorded, but most of them do. Now we have an action that adds those two adjustment layers. You can compare how the image looked before and how it looks now. Much more interesting, I would say. Let's open a new image with similar lighting and try the same action. With that action selected, I press play. I get an instant change, and you can see the same adjustment layers added to the image. How cool is that? Now you can keep the same mood across the entire video. Here is another useful adjustment. It's called Color Lookup. You've probably heard about LUTs. It lets you upload a LUT file you found online or use some that come by default. These are basically a combination of different adjustments packed into one single lookup table. Try a few of them until you find the right mood. For example, this one called Drop Blues is quite interesting. You can even duplicate the layer to make the effect stronger. See, now it looks more like a witch cat than a normal cat. You can also add subtle adjustments for specific colors using selective color. I see some yellow in the scene, so I can adjust that yellow to be more yellow or more orange. You can really do a lot with Photoshop. Now that we have the images clear and with the right mood, we can use them to create a video. You can do that locally with WAN models, but they're still not as good as the paid ones. So today I'll use Kling AI just because it has good prompt understanding and can generate full HD videos. But I also use other tools, or sometimes a combination of them, since some work better than others depending on the project. On the Kling AI website, you have different tools. I go to video, and here at the top, we want our image to be converted into a video. So let's upload one of the images we generated and see how it works. For the prompts, you can write it yourself, or use ChatGPT to help, or just invent something that fits the scene. Here's an easy way to handle it. First, make sure you understand how prompting works for video. Use the help section. The page might load a bit slowly, but it has a lot of useful information with examples. Check some of those to learn how to write better prompts. I prefer to guide the AI in the right direction. For example, I write something like cinematic camera movement, the woman smiles subtly, and then I click the DeepSeek button. Now the AI analyzes both my image and the prompt I added. It starts processing and gives me a refined prompt. In this case, I noticed the prompt included something about adjusting the color, but I didn't want hands to appear in the scene. So I tell DeepSeek that I don't want to see her hands. It thinks again and gives me a new prompt, which I can apply by clicking the button. It's added automatically. For sound effects, I rarely get good results, so I usually skip that part, even though it's free for now. I always choose professional quality and pick either 5 or 10 seconds, but most of the time I go with 5 seconds. Then I click generate, and I get a video like this one. It looks quite cinematic. Usually, AI can animate pretty well what it sees in the image as long as the movement is not very fast. But sometimes I like to introduce something new in the scene that wasn't there before. Like in this example with the bottle of pills, I wanted to add a hand that takes one pill, and you can see it also shows up in the reflection, reaching in and picking up a pill. It even interacts with the other pill there. If that extra pill hadn't moved, I could have reversed the video to make it look like the hand is placing the pill instead. Here is another example of a girl sitting in a classroom. Now, it would be hard to prompt something like the girl standing up and then having the camera move closer to the table and so on. Some of that can be done, but it was easier for me to split it into two videos so I have more control. For the first video, I prompted that the girl is standing up slowly while the camera stays fixed, so only the girl moves. Then I made another video where the camera moves and focuses on the writing on the chalkboard. Now that I have these two videos, I go to CapCut and place them on the timeline. You can see both videos start with the same frame. But I want the opposite motion. Instead of standing up, I want her to sit down. So I go to the first video and reverse it. The result is this one. You see how the girl is slowly sitting down and it looks believable. Then the second part plays, where the camera moves and focuses on the chalkboard instead of staying static. So we get a longer video with two shots that feel consistent. In this example, I wanted someone to place a whiskey bottle on a shelf, and the bottle had a label that says wrong. But as we know, AI is not great at generating readable text in video, though it does a better job at keeping it consistent once it's there. So the solution was to create a video where a hand picks up the bottle from the shelf. That way, the label appears exactly how I want it. Then I reversed the video, so now it looks like a hand is placing the bottle there. After that, I added a second video that starts from the same frame, where the bottle explodes into small parts. This gave it a nice visual effect. Here is a photo of a woman holding a card like a fortune teller. Then I prompted that the card spontaneously bursts into flames to create a nice effect. In another video, I used Photoshop to add a tattoo on her hand, and then I prompted the AI so that she pulls her sleeve to cover the tattoo. You can also reverse that kind of action in some cases, depending on the animation. In this case, it didn't look very believable when reversed. Try different camera movements depending on what you want to express, the mood and the story. I'm good at image generation and I'm learning a lot about cinematic videos, but I still don't feel good enough, or I don't have enough time to do everything I want. But I can suggest some free resources on YouTube where you can learn more. The Ultimate Guide to Camera Movement is quite good. I'll include the links in the video description. You need to learn some traditional cinematography techniques to improve your videos, because sometimes they lack story and emotion. Here is another playlist about cinematography techniques where you can learn tips from people who have done this their whole life. Also, this ultimate guide that covers cameras, motion, and different types of shots. For the last part of my process, I do the video editing where I put everything together. I use CapCut Desktop Pro because it's fast and easy to use. But you can also try DaVinci, which has both a free and a paid version, or many other editors that are out there. Here is how a music video final project looks in CapCut. I can zoom in to see better what's there. Down here are the images and videos. The audio section includes music or sound effects, and on top you have text, effects, and captions. Between clips, you can also add transitions. You can move around the timeline and find the parts you want to edit, so it's quite easy to use. You can make certain sections larger if you want to see them better. I like to change the scene on the beat. You'll notice that in some parts of the song, the transition fits more naturally. When the beat is faster, I just use still images with a zoom in and some noise effect to keep the energy up. For example, in this part where the man throws the plate and it cuts to the next frame, I go to transitions and add one between them. You can test different transitions to see if they improve or ruin the flow. Sometimes it's better without any transition, but other times adding one makes the cut smoother. A sharp jump from black to white can be harsh on the eyes if you don't add something in between. In this video, I went with a rippling effect because the plate is round and the ripple matches that shape. It worked nicely with the movement. You have a lot of filters you can apply, so depending on your mood or style, you can add them quickly and easily. But sometimes it's hard to find the right color combinations, and you might want to do the adjustments manually. For example, in this video, I used the Miami filter. You can see how it was applied over the entire video. If you click on the plus sign, you can add a filter to the timeline, and then adjust the size over the specific portion of the video you want it to affect. You can also adjust the intensity from here to make the effect stronger or more subtle. If I select a video, I have a lot of options from audio and speed to animation and all kinds of adjustments. When I click on adjust, if I have some local loops installed, I can use those here. Or I can just adjust the colors manually. For example, I didn't do the color grading in Photoshop for this image because I wasn't sure what mood I wanted at the time. So I did it later here in CapCut, adding more warmth to match the rest of the videos. I also reduced the contrast a bit depending on the mood I was going for. And of course, we have curves. Just like I showed earlier in Photoshop, you can do curve adjustments here too. But I still think it's better to do the color grading on the image first, so in the video editor you only make subtle adjustments. That helps avoid reducing the overall video quality. You also have the adjustment tab, which is useful when you don't want to adjust just one video, but multiple ones. You can add it to the timeline, resize, and position it over the clips you want to affect, and then apply all the color or curve adjustments you need. That way to the effect is applied consistently across the entire section under that adjustment layer. For this video, I added an intro animation. If I select the video and go to the animation tab, I have options for in, out, and combo animations. For the intro, I can choose effects like screen, mirage, flipbook, or click to open. There are a lot of options, so you just have to find one that matches what you want to communicate to the viewer. Same goes for the out animation. There are quite a few to pick from. That's one of the reasons I like CapCut, and the combo animations also have a good variety, combining both in and out effects in a smooth way. I added 2 videos here so it's easier to see in the project. I really like the effects tab. It has a lot of options, and for those who have the paid pro version, some of them are really useful. They keep adding more, and I've saved a few to my favorites, but I don't think I've managed to test all of them yet. Maybe on a weekend I'll make some free time and go through more of them and save some nice ones to use later. You can also apply these effects to photos, which lets you add movement and make them more dynamic. Look how interesting this one is. There are all kinds of light effects and animations. I haven't seen any other video editor that has so many easy-to-use templates with complex animations like this. If I go between those 2 videos and then open the Transitions tab, I can test a bunch of them to see how they look, how the flow feels, whether it interrupts the pacing or helps it. If you're not sure, it's better to leave it without a transition. But some of these transitions really make the video feel more continuous and more interesting to watch. Let's say I like this one. I can click on the little plus sign to add that transition and press OK if it asks to create duplicate frames for the transition. Now, when we play the video, we get that interesting transition animation. You can also drag from the sides to make it faster or slower. Once the video is ready, you can hit the blue export button. I use these settings most of the time. I rarely export in 4K because AI videos don't look that great at that size. You can upscale for some types of videos, but for realistic ones, it doesn't work so well. Don't forget to check Discord for prompts and resources. It would help me a lot if you subscribe to all my 3 channels, Pixaroma, AI2Play, and AltFlux. I want to thank you AI Titans and everyone who subscribed to the membership and keeps this channel going. Leave a like and a comment to help with the algorithm if you found something useful. What are you still doing here? The tutorial is over. Do you want more? Hungry for knowledge, isn't it? Here are some thoughts from an old wizard, if you feel like listening to what he has to say.
You can create cinematic videos using AI. No fancy camera gear needed, just your imagination. AI tools like Kling, Midjourney, and others can turn your ideas and images into dynamic videos, so you can focus on the creative side. Even a short AI-generated video needs a story or concept. Why? A well-told story hooks your audience and creates an emotional connection. It's the difference between a forgettable clip and one that holds attention. This doesn't mean you need an epic novel. Just give your video a clear beginning, middle, and end so it feels like a mini-journey. For example, you might start with an opening scene that poses a question or shows a cool scenario you'll hook, then introduce some conflict or change, and finally a resolution or memorable ending. Even a simple narrative like a lone hero wanders a desolate city and finds hope at sunrise will make your video more engaging than a random sequence of visuals. Think about the emotion or message you want to convey. Are you going for awe, excitement, nostalgia, suspense? Let that guide your story decisions. Story-driven content greatly boosts engagement, so plan a concept that takes the viewer somewhere emotionally. And remember, with AI you can be super creative. If you can imagine it, you can likely generate it. Once you have a story idea, decide on the mood and tone of your video. In filmmaking, colors and lighting play a big role in setting the mood. For example, cool blue-gray tones can give a scene a serious or cold feeling, while warm golden tones feel cozy or hopeful. Think of a romance at sunset with warm golden light versus a horror scene at night with cold, bluish shadows. The color palette instantly tells the viewer how to feel. Even classic black and white can be used for a timeless or dramatic look. Lighting is just as important. Cinematic images often use natural light in creative ways. The golden hour, which is just after sunrise or just before sunset, gives a soft, warm light that makes everything feel magical. If your story is calm or nostalgic, you might set your scenes in golden late afternoon light. For a darker or more tense mood, you might go for strong contrast or dim, moonlit scenes. Don't hesitate to describe the lighting in your AI prompts. For example, you can write something like soft sunlight filtering through trees if you want a peaceful feeling. Also, consider adding music or sound when you edit your video, even if your focus is mostly on visuals. A gentle piano track can make a quiet emotional scene feel deeper, while an intense beat or dramatic score can boost the energy. The right background music helps set the tone and ties your scenes together. Now, let's talk about how to make your AI video look cinematic through shot composition and virtual camera movement. Even though you're not using a real camera, you can instruct the AI to mimic cinematic camera work. Think like a film director. When crafting your prompts, you can actually describe camera angles and moves, and the AI will try to execute them. Here are some classic cinematic shot techniques to consider. Begin a scene with a wide shot to show the environment or setting. Wide shots establish context. For example, a vast landscape or a city skyline at dawn sets the stage. Close-ups for emotion. Use close-up shots to focus on a character's face or a key detail. Close-ups convey emotion and draw the viewer's attention to something important, like the determination in a hero's eyes or a hand trembling with fear. These shots make viewers feel what the character feels. Changing the angle can change the story. A low-angle shot looking up at the subject can make a character look powerful or imposing, whereas a high-angle shot looking down can make them look vulnerable or small. So if your scene is about a triumphant moment, you might imagine the AI camera low at knee level looking up at your character. For a moment of defeat, a bird's eye high angle might emphasize their isolation. A pan is when the camera moves horizontally side to follow action or reveal more of a scene. For example, camera pans left across a bustling market would smoothly scan a scene and capture its energy. A tilt is a vertical move up or down, like tilting up to show a towering tree or tilting down from the sky to a character below. These gentle movements make your video feel alive and give a sense of space. Zooming in or out adds instant cinematic flair. Zoom in to draw focus to a detail or to slowly build tension, like a dramatic close-up on eyes. You can literally prompt slow zoom in on her eyes to create intensity. Conversely, zoom out to reveal the bigger picture. Zoom out from the window to show an entire house, can unveil context or surprise the viewer with a grand reveal. Using zooms at key moments helps emphasize what's important, just like in a film. Want the viewer to feel like they're in the scene. Try a first-person perspective. For instance, you can have the camera move as if it's the character running through a forest or flying over a landscape. An FPV shot first-person view can add excitement and immersion, like the AI camera rushing behind a running character for adrenaline or gliding gently to mimic a drone flying over mountains. Use this sparingly for special moments to put your audience in someone else's shoes. Remember, you can combine these techniques too. One trick is to start with a wide establishing shot and then cut or transition to a close-up, which instantly pulls the audience into the story detail. Also, frame your shots well. Follow photography basics like the rule of thirds. Don't always put your subject dead center. Off-center composition can be more visually pleasing and cinematic. And not every shot needs movement. Sometimes a still, steady shot with no camera motion is powerful for a calm or dramatic moment. Use movement purposefully to enhance the scene, not just for the sake of it. Example, imagine you're directing an AI-generated scene. Instead of a bland prompt like Sunrise City, you could write cinematic pan across a golden-lit cityscape as the sun rises. A lone man in a torn suit approaches a grand gate. Now that sounds like a movie scene, right? You're giving the AI a clear camera action, a pan, lighting golden sunrise, and a subject with context. This way, the AI is more likely to generate a dynamic, story-rich shot instead of a static image. Always be specific. Treat your prompt like your director's instructions to the AI. After creating your scenes, you'll likely stitch them together into a final video. How you edit and transition between shots is key to maintaining that cinematic feel. Good editing keeps viewers engaged and helps the story flow naturally. Here are some tips on transitions and pacing. Match the transition to the mood. For a high energy or intense sequence, use quick cuts to keep the momentum. These are instant scene changes that don't distract. They just push the action forward. They're great for chase scenes, action or music video montages. On the other hand, if your video has a gentle or emotional tone, slower transitions work better. A fade to black or a dissolve creates a softer, more emotional shift between scenes. Smooth dissolves are great for calm, reflective moments, giving the viewer a second to absorb the story. Let the pace of the story guide your transition choices. A harsh cut in a quiet scene can feel wrong, just like a slow fade in the middle of an action scene might kill the energy. Pacing and timing are also important. Cinematic editing is all about rhythm. Think about how long each shot stays on screen. To build suspense, you might hold a shot longer or use a slow cross-fade. For surprise or impact, a quick cut can be very effective. Try to balance fast and slow pacing. Use quick cuts for energy and slow moments to give weight or emotion. You can also cut based on music beats or visual cues, like when a character exits the frame or a new sound begins. Don't overuse fancy effects. It can be tempting to add glitch transitions, spins, or flashy animations, especially if your editor has a lot of them. But less is more. In most films, transitions are very simple, basic cuts or fades, unless there's a specific reason for something more dramatic. If you use a spin or zoom transition, make sure it matches the tone of the video. Otherwise, it just distracts. Keeping things simple and consistent helps the video feel more professional. Continuity and flow matter too. Scenes should connect in a way that makes sense. If you're going from night to morning, don't just slam the viewer into daylight. Use a fade to black or show a sunrise as a bridge. These little details help the viewer stay immersed in the story. Always ask yourself, does this transition fit the story? If not, change it. Finally, when all the scenes are in place, watch your video from start to finish. See if the mood feels consistent and the story is clear. Adjust timing, pacing, or transitions where needed. This is the stage where your video truly becomes cinematic, blending visual, story, and emotion into one smooth, engaging experience. Cinematic storytelling with AI is a new frontier, and the great part is you don't need a Hollywood budget, just creativity. Modern AI tools handle the heavy lifting, like rendering visuals and simulating camera moves, giving creators more freedom than ever before. If you have a vision or a story in your head, give it a try. Start with a small idea, plan your scenes and mood, and experiment with prompts and edits. The more you work with it, the better you'll get at pulling cinematic magic from the AI. It's not about technical perfection. What matters is the feeling or story you're trying to share. Use these tips as a starting point. Focus on the story first. Set the mood with color and light. Use camera moves and angles with purpose. And edit carefully to keep the flow natural. Above all, have fun and let your imagination run. With AI, your limits depend on the strength of your ideas and how clearly you express them. As one creator said, "We're in the middle of a content revolution. If you've got stories inside you, this is your sign to bring them to life. Start small. Start now. Just start. Good luck, and I can't wait to see the cinematic AI videos you create. Don't forget to check the Discord channel and leave a like if this video helped you. Have a great cinematic day.